thought I'd start with a warm-up. It's incredibly important to warm up properly. Today I'm using a TheraBand and I'm doing compound movements like squats. They use large muscle groups, your glutes, your quads, your hamstrings, hip flexors. And then I'm rowing, using the latissimus dorsi, the rear deltoid. I'm going to supinate my palms here a little bit in this lunge to add some bicep. I like doing this lunge with a bent knee on the way down to open up the hip flexor. Really important to keep that knee in line, that front knee especially, in line with the ankle. We want to make sure that it doesn't move past the ankle over the toes. It could be even slightly behind, but we don't want it to go forward. I'm going to do just a little pec fly, just like you would at the gym with dumbbells or a cable to warm up the pectorals, the anterior deltoid a little bit, and even the shoulder girdle to some extent. This is a little shoulder warm-up. I'm using an active flexibility shoulder warm-up, being mindful not to flex and extend through my spine. I'm drawing the navel center back into the spine there, warming up the rear delts, and warming up the triceps. The little extension, tricep extension, elbows in, pretty close to the side of my head. And then just some range of motion, lateral range of motion through the shoulder. Next, I'm going to do a good morning. I really like the good morning for a warm-up. It's a pretty good core warm-up, both the back side of the body and the front. The glutes, the hamstrings, even the rear delt a little bit. I do good mornings just about every day. A little mat warm up now, cat and dog, tilt of the spine, flexion and extension of the spine. And in extension, we use the spinal erectors, then in flexion, we're using the muscles that obviously flex the spine, the rectus abdominis. Now downward facing dog. And then we do a little shoulder warm up here, little shoulder presses. Elbows out to the side, and then a dolphin with the elbows down to the mat. This does take a little practice in the beginning, especially to get both elbows down together. I can talk about that at another time, another video where we talk predominantly about the shoulders, about that rotation through the shoulder. We're going to move into high plank. Being really careful here not to dip into the anterior part of my shoulder and keeping good energy in the feet. And the obvious warm-up, I guess, would be in the deltoids, the chest, the triceps, and the biceps. And then if your core muscles. In core work, I always include, because the core does include, the back side of our body, our spinal erectors. I'm doing this little variation of cobra into a variation of locust pose from yoga. Real basic little hip flexor stretch here, nothing too intense. Getting that knee slightly bent just to free up the hip flexor a little bit, especially if it's tight before we really get into anything too much. A little lateral bend, lateral bending being incredibly important for the health of your spine. And lateral bending, you've got a lot of bang for your buck, right? We stretch the side body as well as the hip flexors, the psoas, the lumborum quadratus, even at the back side of the body. Just a little forward fold here, over the front leg, over the hamstring. Again, nothing too intense. I don't do, if any, passive stretching for any period of time. I'm just going to do the other side, so we'll skip ahead. doing a more in-depth abdominal warm-up now, core strengthening actually. Using the rectus abdominis predominantly, the muscles that flex the spine, the recline and deflection, the rectus abdominis, being always mindful of drawing the navel center back into the spine, activating the transverse, and they really support mostly the low back. They're big players in stabilizing the pelvis. And a little hip flexor, also conditioning here. I pause in the beginning and at the very end. Now you see I'm pressing the back of my thigh into the floor. That actually will stretch the hip flexor and the psoas as long as you're really rolling up and moving the pelvis and the upper back into flexion. It's one of my favorite transverse abdominal and oblique warm-ups. Just these tiny little small circles I'm drawing on the ceiling with my toes. Nothing really big. I don't want to make these big corkscrew circles here that would pull on the low back. Just small and controlled. Again, warming up the obliques, internal and external, and the transverse. I move my legs into external rotation here. Get a little something extra for my quads and the hip flexors. Shoulder blades rolling away from the floor, again, to activate those rectus abdominis, especially the upper part of the rectus abdominis. If you don't roll your shoulder blades enough away from the floor, you'll take this in your neck, so you really want to lift up through the upper back. Oh, a few little hip circles here. After all that hip work. And a pretty easy spinal twist. And this is just my warm-up, so I don't get too crazy. So moving on now to one of my most favorite active flexibility split prep work. This is hero pose. My shin is flush against the wall. Pelvis moves towards flexion, as I just indicated. Again, using those transverse, drawing the navel center back into the spine. And then a lateral bend that again will also stretch the hip flexor, the psoas, the lateral body, of course the side body, the lats, even a little bit, and the lumborum quadratus. If you're really tight in the quadricep, a lot of people will feel this predominantly in the quads in the beginning. It will get slightly more comfortable. This can be a pretty intense stretch. And I put this block under my knee so that I can really focus on lifting up out of the pelvis, not sinking into my front hip. A little added extra shoulder work here, just that really healthy shoulder alignment to reach back to the foot. And we'll talk about this more on back bending day. I love using the wall, keeping the hips really square to open up those hamstrings here, especially. I'm showing you the wrong way to forward fold. Nice and long through the spine and our hamstrings work. Use the blocks a little bit for stability, stopping wherever you need to stop. I usually hold everything for at least 30 seconds, up to 90 seconds. I'm moving a little fast for the sake of this video. I would hang out in these stretches longer. Again, that wall, I'm pressing my shin against the wall so my foot doesn't slide to the side, unsquaring the hips, and lifting out the pelvis. I'm gonna add this quad stretch that really does hurt. You could skip this one if your quads aren't quite open enough for this yet. It is a pretty intense quadricep stretch. And really active, when I forward fold, I'm lifting out of the pelvis, drawing the navel center back into the spine, trying not to collapse into the hip. This twist again helps just reinforce that squareness to the hips. A little added bonus here, my flexibility practice, and then a little pole dancing, which utilizes all of my most favorite things, strength and flexibility, and my previous ballet training. If anything, it's just super fun. And I practice at the PA Pole Academy in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Please feel free to come and dance with me. Okay, so any comments or questions, you can comment below, ask me questions below, or you can email me at the email link below. Again, you're welcome to email me for more private Skype instruction. We could FaceTime or Skype if you'd like more private instruction, more in-depth instruction. If you have injuries and have some special considerations, we can discuss those too as well. So thank you for watching. Subscribe, and I hope to hear from you. Thank you.